Patch 4.7 is kicking off some major additions and changes to the game as we know it. Some changes like the inventory UI are solidly supercalifragilistic and everybody can get on board with them. But others like proximity loot are super divisive and attempts to get clarity from CIG has proved completely fruitless. However, it turns out 4.7 will be a patch that a lot of folks will remember. Let's break down what's here, what's coming, and how it's working out in testing so far. There's a couple armor sets incoming, one of which is a rework of this light joint that you've seen plenty times if you've done 890 jump missions. First time I've seen a rework of an enemy armor appear on the roadmap, and there's no description of what the update is, so this side by side will have to do. A new heavy armor will also be released with it. We haven't seen it in testing yet, but from the pics, I do like the style, except for the bottom of the torso. Looks like the bottom of that t-shirt in the back of your drawer where the part below the stitching keeps rolling up, making it just a bit shorter than you want it to be. The claw salamanders, turns out they're a gang in Nyx rather than Louisiana crab boil ingredients, and their outfits will be up for your looty little hands to grab. You'll be able to find them boys and their outfits in the new locations in Nyx. Wait, claw salamanders, salamander claws, salamancas? Nah. Big piece of info that's being passed around right now is a pretty significant change to combat, specifically armor and weapon damage. Apparently in testing, and only in testing, which can change on the drop of a dime, armor is only affected if the alpha damage is high enough, regardless of DPS. What the hell does that mean? To simplify it, you got alpha damage, which is the damage your weapon loadout deals on a single pull of the trigger. Then you got DPS, which is the damage your weapon loadout inflicts over the course of a second. It's damage from a single volley compared to damage done over time. So look at it like this. You got a Gladius and a Gladiator. Their DPS aren't very far apart, but if they're both shooting at a ship with armor that only takes damage from 120 alpha damage or higher, then the Gladius won't affect it and the Gladiator will. And the Gladius pilot will know it's not affecting it because it won't receive any hit markers. This only affects armor, so the Gladius can still damage shields, turrets, and the hull once the armor is stripped. As you probably know, Nyx is sans planets right now, but it's plenty room for them later this year because Nyx is way bigger than it looks on the star maps right now. If you go flying to Nyx today, the farthest 2 points you can jump between are 44 gigameters apart. Giggity. In testing, I plotted a route from a courier mission that was 83 giggity meters, and there are routes between points that are farther out than that. If you didn't catch everything I just said, courier missions are back, baby. Some of y'all might be too young in the game to remember the courier missions. They were your basic Planet Express delivery boy missions. Pick up a specific box from one location, fly to another location, profit. Those got lost in the server meshing sauce and has been missing for over a year now. They were good beginner-friendly missions to help you get familiar with the game, but even veterans will pick them up from time to time for some back-to-basics nostalgia. But now they back for your Philip J. Fry pleasure. The test ended before I got to my delivery location, but the bit I did mostly worked well. The mobiGlas mission description was a little off, but mechanically, it was good to go. I picked up a two-handed box from a shelf in the cargo area at the bottom of a People's Alliance space station to get mine started. The new People's Alliance space stations are dope. They're completely unique to other space stations. I don't think we had already seen images of these before. We'd seen the Pyro space stations for quite a while before they released, so it was really nice to be surprised for a change. I didn't want to spoil it with a description, but apparently CIG released an image in the monthly report, so that's why I'm showing it to you. The People's Alliance really ran with the organic architectural approach. Something else unique was the lack of elevators in the joint. You can get anywhere in the station interiors just walking around, skipping down some stairs here and there. Take a little getting used to get navigating through it quickly, but there's signs everywhere, so it's no problem. Side note, they really love their coffee in Nyx. It's for sale everywhere. They even got these really cool working throwback coffee machines that I'm gonna need for my hangar. Andale. The new breaker stations. Think of these kind of like a line in mind. You go in and assault the place while getting the facility back online. Then instead of an orbital laser carving out a cave in the moon, the breaker station cuts a hole in a giant captured asteroid that you can mine. Good run for about 4 to 6 people, just like a line in mine. And there's a ton of them. 60 are exclusive, which translates to PvE. 30 are contested, which PvP orgs might target, but griefers that can't actually fight will stay clear of. And 20 others which will host mercenary missions. Mole and moth owners, bad news first. It's still called the moth. Good news is that they're ready to ride for 4.7. The Moth got its full 64 SEU of buffers going, salvage speed is up to par now, and all the little weird bugs like the pilot losing control priority in certain situations are now resolved, my friend. The Mole has taken lessons from the Moth and got itself a rear cargo bay, so supplies in the Geo are back on the menu, boys. As far as performance, frames were really solid, no complaints there. Stability wise, wow. It was like the old days where we used to get 30Ks all the time, except in testing, it's server errors. Often and sometimes really long lasting. It's Evocati testing, so we built for that. And obviously those issues will get shored up. Well, most of us are built for it. Some of these new members, not so much. But in addition to that, lag and desync have been prevalent. Noticeable delay between input and action with things like doors and cranking your ship up. I was stranded in a space station because the elevators weren't registering requests. Then I remembered I could backspace and spawn in the Apollo. The most egregious thing was flying to a breaker station, aka a rock cracker station. I saw a warning about it in global chat, so I waited a good 5 minutes before flying to the mission marker. Didn't look like nothing was happening, so I flew closer, and as soon as I did, station rendered in all around my ship like I got caught in a Venus flytrap. So there's some work to do to get this patch completely sorted, which gives you time to get your shine on in 4.6 before 4.7 goes live and all your stuff gets hauled back to your primary residence. They just released a new build, so that might not even be a problem anymore. And Wave 1 might even be open by the time you see this. So you might have noticed I skipped a few things, and that's because I wanted to get a little deeper into them lastly. Crafting is something we talked about in the previous vid, and unless you go out of your way to avoid the info, you're probably pretty aware of it. You have a blueprint for an item, you go find the resources listed in the recipe, stick them in the machine, and you can make the item on a blueprint. Right now it's mostly ship weapons, hand weapons, and armor. If you don't have a blueprint for it, you can't craft it. By release, you'll be able to earn blueprints from completing missions, finding data pads, earning through reputation with factions, etc., etc. But in testing, they just gave them to us or let us unlock a bunch of them with a single mission. The quality of the resources you use dictate what kind of a bump in stats the crafted item can get. The increased stats aren't anything crazy, so it doesn't sound worth the trouble at first, but there's several stats per item. So for example, a parallax rifle with a 5% improvement to impact force, 5% to recoil kick, to recoil smoothness, recoil handling, plus improved spread and reload speed is significantly better than a stock version without just becoming OP. To get those improvements, it doesn't cost you a ton in resources, but you gotta go out and do a little mining. Testing has revealed some changes there. In the live game, each mineable rock you detect has multiple resources in it. So in your mind, you evaluate what's there, what you want, what you don't. I came for Laranite, but this gold will be a nice bonus. What do I have room in my ship for? You think your way through it before firing up your mining laser, or not. You consider the variables and make the best strategic decision. Going forward, that's out the door because there's only one resource per rock. The rest is just inert dirt. So the only decision you'll have to make is the quality number high enough? Confirm, extract, move on, no thinking required. You start to combine that with the removal of the bedlogging standard and proximity looting, the writing on the wall becomes a little clearer. You can see that complex gameplay systems are being flattened into easily accessible, frictionless experiences with less depth. Whether that's to your taste or not, it's the first time we've seen CIG switch roles from gaming pioneer to kind of following the trend. The shift in Star Citizen's direction from a meticulous tactile experience towards fast-paced arcade-like flows even kind of fracturing the player base a bit. Players have been trying to get CIG's attention to address this matter via Spectrum, Reddit posts, and of course videos, but CIG is running the Beethoven play, making beautiful things but can't hear shit. Side note, a lot of this seems to be the industry standard. Gaming in general is taking a lot of L's across the board with the closing of PlayStation gamers' favorite remake studio, Bluepoint, as well as the possible end of the Xbox console as you know it. The traditional experience of games are fading out like reasonably priced haircuts. If you still go to the barbershop, you know what I'm talking about. Barber chair empty, but you still need an appointment to pay $100 for a cut with painted on hairlines and fireworks going off. Anywho, the celebrated, never unappreciated Disco Lando often reminds us that the only constant in game development is change, but it never occurred to folks that that could extend to changing Star Citizen on a fundamental level. For the uninitiated, Star Citizen's elevator pitch would be flying spaceships and making movie clips, aka GTA Online if it was a space sim for adults. For over a decade, players been piling up money to the sky for a sophisticated, refined game that lets you run, fly, shoot, extract resources to build things while pushing all the buttons, weighing and making all the decisions, and just doing all the stuff in a fully physicalized universe. Well, after years of enduring the climb, I just hope we don't summit and find that we only made it to the top just because they chopped the peak off of the mountain. The physicalized verse having become an abstractionized verse. We used to wake up in bed in our cozy little apartment, maybe shop for a few supplies, then go on about our day in the verse. After we were done racing, fighting, mining, whatever we were into, we'd either return home, fly to a space station, or much easier, just stretch out in our bed to log out. Your bed works like a save point, and you wake up there the next session, ready to roll. Apparently, it's too much trouble to lie down in the bed, so the thousands of man and woman hours creating these detailed bedrooms and hundreds of ships were years of wasted time and effort because continuity via bed logging is moving out and just appearing wherever you left off is incoming. Your character just kind of stands there for 15 hours straight while the rest of the verse goes by, like a really boring Mr. Beast challenge. So many folks bought ships with enough beds for their buddies to log out in. It's crazy. We used to go out to these incredibly detailed places, find a box, then click on it to open it up for the almighty loot. The next patch, you just walk in a room and press I to access all the loot boxes, corpses, and items on the floor nearby. As my guy Captain Serious Fun said, we won't be looting boxes, we'll be querying an index. That'll be what stands in for the ritual and tactile experience of finding and opening the loot. Instead of doing things, hitting I is just symbolic of congratulations, you just opened these 5 inventories around you. It's the gaming equivalent of let's not and say we did. In all the years I covered this game, read comments, read Spectrum, read Reddit, it's not been a single instance of anybody saying, damn, I hate opening the boxes I want to loot. Opening boxes sucks. Who even dreamed that one up? I'm sure I don't know, but it's a solution searching for a problem, like reverse mortgages. The audience that committed to Star Citizen for the long haul sought the appeal of a game that demands your attention, patience, and deliberate interaction with the world. Interacting with the universe has meaning. Clicking that loot box caused it to open and allowed you to dig through it while your buddy looted the locker right there and the rando that joined you looted the corpse over there. That's a natural distribution of effort. Stripping off your aggressive looking armor to tuck into your stars and moons blankie was how you ended your night. That interaction means something. Bethesda beds always irritated me because you click it and then appear standing next to it next session. Final Fantasy and other Squaresoft games, you hopped your ass in a tent and went to sleep, complete with Z's coming out the tent. In Fallout, the bed is there, you use it, and the world doesn't acknowledge the act. Let's not say we did. It's not just a Star Citizen thing, ladies and germs. The space game connoisseur known as Obsidian Ant had this to say about some gems of the genre.
So there's a new wave of titles that aren't at all focused on simplifying things for you. They don't want to automate the complexity of these games. They don't want to reduce everything to a single button presses. All these things that generally simplify games. Instead, what's happening here is they want you to engage with the title's systems, to understand why your ship handles the way it does, to feel the consequences of why your colony's budget doesn't balance, and to maintain the machine that's keeping you alive rather than just pointing in a direction. And this is quite a change actually. It's somewhat of a rebellion against the arcade approach that we've seen that's been developing. And all of this is happening across multiple games from multiple studios all at roughly the same time. Some of these are hardcore command sims, others are survival games or action RPGs with an unusual amount of mechanical depth. But they'll say roughly on the same spectrum, and that's a refusal to simplify. So today I want to look at 5 titles that are really focusing on complexity over simplicity, and why I feel this is a great direction for the genre. And this really because if the big studios are moving towards simplification, then the developers here are moving in the total opposite direction, and this is very good news indeed.
It's an industry-wide epidemic, folks. The single resource mining thing has made acquisition pretty basic, but doesn't take you as far out of immersion lock as the other items. But what I saw from among the OGs talking about the new mining, they found it to be boring and simplistic. To give you a better idea of the mining experience, typically I'd find a cluster of about 5 or 6 rocks. My first cluster had 3 rocks that were nothing but dirt. One had half a SCU of very low quality Hephaestonite. The other had a little over 2 SCU with decent quality. From that rock, I extracted 2 1/4 SCU of Hephaestonite. Not too shabby, right? I could have got about half an SCU more, but the last fractured piece was 57% dirt. Alright, then you gotta remember that refining yields have been nerfed down to nothing. 2.25 SCU yielded 1 SCU after refining. You get back about 44% of what you mine. So if you have an outstanding run in your prospector and your 32 SCU saddlebags are full to the brim with nothing but high quality laranite, after you refine it, you're only left with about 14 SCU. Pretty wild. Inert material will be balanced, but it'll still be the only other material in each rock, which means you'll never find a rock that has what you're looking for, plus a small amount of another resource that could be used or sold. You have to do a focused search for every single thing on your list. Maybe it makes more sense in the bigger picture of industrial gameplay. Mining single materials will make it easier to target and gather specific resources without worrying about the logistics of warehousing everything else. I'm not looking for easier. Maybe you are. A lot of folks like the challenge of problem solving through the complexity, in which case simpler doesn't mean funner. It means less challenging. And this is not an older versus younger players thing. It's not even 100% veterans versus rookies. There's just a type of gamer who digs the highly interactable, slow burn simulation of a sci-fi universe. Not everybody's built for that. The louder, less patient, give me everything now casual crowd looks like they're getting their way and becoming the new target for the game. But that's progress. Kind of a shame though. We backed something rare here, and rare things are fragile. When something as niche as Star Citizen scales and becomes more popular, it inevitably changes. The fear here is not change itself. We've gone through so many. The fear is that this rare thing becomes ordinary. This isn't nostalgia. Nobody's saying it was better back in the day. Folks would just kind of like to play the game that they backed. In the end, it's not our game to develop. CIG can go off in whatever direction they think is best, just as players can. But if that's the case, I'm sure we can agree that we'd all prefer a little clarity from CIG here, even if we disagree with their position. As I mentioned, players are reaching out to CIG to get their position on this, but the only thing they get in return is silence. But for as long as the game remains cool, I'll be around. We've been quiet in our Discord while we figured out where this game is going, but with crafting coming around, we about ready to get active. So we seeking all cool folks who want to get down with us for open events on weekends. Maybe even hop in with our casual speakeasy kind of org. No disrespectful types though. My guy Rico drop kicks those folks for fun. Big shout out to the OG Esquire executive bosses, the Huntress, Lone Wolf, Eyes Open 2018. Your support is always appreciated. Extra thanks to the Huntress and Lone Wolf for providing some perspective on this vid. Patreons, YouTube members, super chatters, folks visiting the Boss Supply merch store. Big thanks fam. Fly dirty citizens.